Welcome back to another episode of Spreadsheet Radio. This is Nick Kleifges and Steven Doman here in Arlington, Virginia. It's Friday night and we're ready for another weekend of football. Steve just got back from Minnesota. Welcome back, Steve.
Thanks, Nick. It was a little bit colder in Minnesota, and his work was pretty tough after coming from a pretty easy week last week. Glad to be back and glad that there's some football going on and probably some heavily drinking.
Absolutely. So this week we're gonna go back to doing 6 games each. We had a lot more luck with that, going 11-1 our first week. Last week we were a pedestrian 2-8. That included an 0-5 week from Steve here.
I thought I was 0-6, but I'll take the 0-5.
We only did 5 picks last week, so luckily you were only 0-6. We still got a winning mark on the season, but just superstition, we're going to go back to 6 picks. So we're going to do 7 college picks and 5 NFL. Steve's going to do 3 and 3, and I'm going to do 4 and 2. So why don't I get us started off with my first pick? Houston was one of my only 2 wins last week. I'm going right back to them. I like Houston minus 12 at home against Vanderbilt. Greg Ward Jr. continued to roll last week. His 15 touchdowns on the season rushing the ball tie him with Leonard Fournette, the Heisman favorite for the FBS lead. The Vanderbilt Commodores' newly inserted freshman quarterback is ill-equipped to keep pace with the Cougs' arsenal, which includes 44 points per game, 292 yards rushing per game. Not only that, the Houston defense leads the nation in turnover margin. They've won by double digits in 16 of their last 18 victories. So with Houston's advantages on both sides of the ball, I like Houston to win this rematch of the 2013 Compass Bowl, and I like them to win it big.
The Compass Bowl. Houston looked good last week, and I think that my downfall of going over bagel last week was all off the stats. I completely went away from what I did the week before, even though, Florida State lost with a block field goal. Couple other things didn't go my way, but, I'm going off field this week, and it can't go worse than 0 for 6. I'm going to go with Clemson minus 10 at NC State. Clemson's going to continue to roll. They cracked the top 10 for the first time this season after last week's blowout victory against Miami. It was in Miami. They're playing at NC State. NC State's best win is against a 3-5 Wake Forest team, and they have losses to Virginia Tech and Louisville. So I think Clemson's going to keep rolling, and I think they cover the spread at 10.
Yeah, how can you not like Clemson right now after what they did to Miami last week? People got fired over that game. I actually had I had Clemson in a parlay with Houston, so that was a big winner for me. Took a -7, wish I could have had a -20. So I like that pick. That brings me up to my next pick. I got Florida, the Florida Gators -3 in Jacksonville playing Georgia. Florida's just a better team in this one. Head coach Jim McElvain has revitalized this Florida Gator team. He's brought over the spread success he had at Colorado State. His teams are 23-10-1 against the number in his last two plus seasons. The Gators have received strong play from Trayon Harris since he took over for Will Grier. He had another 271 yards passing and 2 touchdowns last week in a close game against LSU. I think the Dogs are banged up right now, and I think they drop out of the East Division race this week against a defensively superior Florida team. Georgia head coach Mark Richt is only 2-8-1 as an underdog since 2006. He's failed to cover in his last 4 seasons. McElwain's got that 26-9-1 in his last 36 against the spread. So given those trends, I like the Gators.
In the swamp, right?
They play that game every year in Jacksonville. It's the world's it's the world's largest cocktail party. So I like, based on those trends, I like Florida to cover this week.
Yeah, that sounds like a good time. But you just never know.
I never made it down there in South Carolina. I was meant to go to that game.
You never know with the SEC. Florida is obviously, they've looked better this year. They obviously have their quarterback, Will Grier, out because he was using, PEDs or something?
Yeah, but see, I think they got an advantage. Trayon Harris, he's the former starter. I like he's performed solid since he's been in there, and I think that actually
He's got legs.
Yeah, he's great. So I think it worked out as an advantage for them. I think they're stronger at the quarterback position than they were with Will Grier.
And Georgia, yeah, I mean, they've just been a disappointment this year. They have that injury to, Chubb. But they got this guy, Sony Michel, coming in. And he's pretty good. So you never know. And Georgia's quarterback, he was a transfer from Virginia, right? Last year. Pretty sure.
Lambert?
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's looked poor. He's looked very poor.
Good.
So, I mean,
if
I had to pick, I'd probably go with Florida as well. But so I'm going to go. This is, probably not one of the games you guys have on your calendar, but I do. I'm going to go University of Louisiana Lafayette minus 11 to their in-state rivals, UL Monroe. And this is basically a pick for my shout-out brother, Mark. We used to bet on the Raging Cajuns for, I don't know, at least it was 1 year where we bet on them for a whole year. They had this quarterback, Broadway, who was just a stud. He's got to be in the NFL somewhere. He's doing great things. But I'm going with the Raging Cajuns at home. And, this is basically just a gut feel pick. And if you ever watch these guys play, these guys are real men. So I just think they're going to out-muscle them.
Yeah, don't know anything about either one of these teams. I like the Raging Cajuns names.
They've combined wins. I think the Raging Cajuns have 2 wins and Monroe's got 1. So a couple of good squads playing, but you got to go with the men on this one.
All right. Can't really argue that. So I like your mentality there. So my next pick, I like the USC Trojans minus 6 on the road against the California Golden Bears. Kind of tailing off what I said last week, I just think the Pac-12 is going to regress to its mean. The powerhouses in the beginning of the season, like Southern Cal and Oregon, are going to win some of
hiccups.
these. They've started to turn things around.
Yep.
The Trojans have really rallied behind their interim head coach Clay Helton. They put together their best effort of the season last week with a dominating performance. We talked about this game. I love the Trojans. Steve liked the Utes. Wasn't one of his official losses, but another
just
loss.
Another loss. Yeah,
another loss.
I couldn't pick a winning team.
Yeah. So loved the Trojans last week. I like them again this week for all the same reasons. Not only that, but Trojans
sober coach on the sidelines.
A sober coach on the sidelines. The Trojans have dominated Cal in this rivalry. They've covered in 8 of the last 10 in this series. I just think the quarterback Cody Kessler, who's completed 69% of his passes with a 17-5 touchdown interception ratio. I look for him to carve up this Golden Bear defense that they looked lost. Did you watch that game against
UCLA?
UCLA, yeah. Jared Rosen was a freshman.
I had UCLA, so that was another one of my.
Okay, one of the lone wins. I actually had Cal in that, so good for you. But they couldn't handle a freshman.
New week.
They couldn't handle a freshman quarterback last week, so I don't know how they're going to contain quarterback Cody Kessler. So
it's going to be a shootout.
I like the Trojan. I agree with that. I like Jared Goff. I said it last week, but not this week against the Trojans. So I'm going with the Trojans. I'm sticking with them.
Yeah, I think they'll. They had a little hiccup during the middle of the season, but I think the interim coach, he's sober. He's got his mind right. I think USC will probably take this one. You're going to be shaking your head on this one because you told me, shame on me once, shame on me twice, and I'm going to go with Georgia Tech. And I'm going to go with Georgia Tech because I will get one of these right. I picked Georgia Tech the first week. It was my only loss. They lost in overtime to Pitt. And then I picked Florida State to beat Georgia Tech last week. And they lose on a blocked field goal. And I'm going back to the well. It's third time's a charm. I'm going to go with Georgia Tech minus 6 at Virginia. And there's really, I'm just going to go with my boy Megatron's alma mater. I'm going to pick the Yellow Jackets. I think that they're going to, feed off of what they did against Florida State. And they're going up against a pretty terrible Virginia team. But, Georgia Tech hasn't been very good either. I just want to get one of these picks right and move on. So I'm going with Georgia Tech.
Yeah, that play last week at the end of that game, it's going to be the Michigan State game, and that game at the end of the season. Those are going to be the 2 plays that it comes down to as the play of the year. It was great.
Agree.
Yeah, it was the only thing that could come close to the Michigan State play was that game. So I don't know why you're not over the betting on Georgia Tech. I would be staying away from them.
I haven't learned my lesson yet. I haven't learned it.
Hopefully you get a win this week. You're due.
I am due.
Yeah, as far as due theory goes, you're due this week. So my last pick, I wouldn't take that pick, but however, know that for the record. So my last pick here is a game I've been thinking about for a few weeks. I got Air Force laying 7 points on the island, playing Hawaii. Air Force is coming off a big win last week against Fresno State. They scored over 40 points, ran for 458 yards on the ground. Hawaii's had a rough season. They've gone 2-6 on the year, including a 5-game losing streak. In games against quality opponents, I thought this was crazy. Ohio State, Wisconsin, and Boise, they were outscored 121-0. So it's been a rough year for the Hawaii Warriors, and I think Norm Chow might be getting voted off the island in the offseason, if not sooner than that. So another little, if you like another little edge here, Hickam Air Force Base is located on the island of Oahu. So I think they get a nice a fan base presence out here in Honolulu, and it'll be almost like a home game on the road for them. So I like Air Force laying the 7 here. I think they win big. I think Hawaii continues to struggle even at home, where they've been so dominant in recent years.
Yeah, and Hawaii doesn't really play too many quality opponents. I'm not saying the Air Force is that,
They're definitely more tested this year.
Absolutely. I didn't know that thing about having, the base on the island nearby?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's the headquarters of the Pacific for the Air Force. So one of the biggest bases in the world for the Air Force. So they're definitely going to have a presence out there.
Wait, I'm inclined to agree with you on that one. I think that Hawaii, the only chance that they would ever have to winning is if they brought back, you remember Colt Brennan?
Yeah, I got his autograph on a Redskins hat.
If they brought back Colt Brennan, they might have a chance. But so I'm gonna dive into the NFL picks. So I think me and Nick disagree on this one. I don't know why he would pick the other squad, but we'll just have to see. I'm gonna go with my Week 1 win. I'm going to go with Vikings -1 at Soldier Field. I think they're just better in all aspects. I think Bridgewater is just hands down better than Cutler. Their defense is better. You could say Forte, but then you got AP in the backfield. I just think that the Vikings, they're gonna come out. They're gonna beat them just like they beat Kansas City in the first week. And, Chicago also lost to my Detroit Lions, so that's our only win. And, that's pretty pitiful. So I'm going to go with the Vikings on this one.
All right, so this is the first time we've ever disagreed on an official pick here. I'm taking Chicago at Soldier Field +1 point. Now, Chicago's won the last 6 straight against Minnesota at Soldier Field. Not only that, Chicago's got Alshon Jeffrey back. Yeah, my former classmate at the University of South Carolina. He's our all-time
bias.
He's our all-time leading receiver. He came back in a big way against Steve's Lions with 8 catches for 147 yards.
Still didn't win the game, though.
Right, didn't win the game, but I think they're going to continue to gel him and Jay Cutler. I think that offense, that Bears offense led by offensive coordinator Adam Gase, they're capable of doing big things. So I just like Chicago at home here. They play much better at home than they do on the road. Not only that, Minnesota plays better at home than they do on the road. So, I like Dub Bears. Robbie Gold's 15 for 15 in field goals on the season. So, in a close game.
Blair Walsh is no scrub either.
Yeah, he only kicks well in a dome. But, so I'm going with the Bears in this one. My dad's team. So, go Bears.
We'll just have to wait and see on that one. And, the Lions play the Chiefs this week, and it's not any bullshit Yahoo stream. It's on Fox at 9:30 in the morning. I'm sure all you guys will watch that game. The Chiefs have been terrible. The Lions have been equally as terrible, if not worse. But I think the Lions get it, but that's not one of my picks because I will not bet on Lions this year. My next pick is the Jets -3 at Oakland. Now, both these teams, I think we can both agree, going into the season, I didn't think they were, especially Oakland, too. The Jets have 2 losses. They've looked good, but Oakland has looked equally as good. I think the Jets bounced back after their loss against New England last week. I think that their front 7 will put a lot of pressure on Derek Carr. I like Derek Carr. I think he's young. I think he's a good quarterback, but with that front 7 putting pressure on him, and then you got Cromartie and Revis in the secondary, I think that they're going to cause troubles for them. And I'm going to go with the Jets, Jets.
Yeah, can't really argue with that pick. The Jets have looked pretty good this season. Where's that game being played?
That's at Oakland.
In Oakland. All right. Well, Jets have been strong this year. Can't really argue against them. So I gotta agree. I tend to agree with that pick. That's been a huge debated game. I think the over is a secret sneaky play in that game. Even though the Jets defense is so strong. So moving into my next NFL pick, I'm going with the Denver Broncos plus 3.5. The undefeated Denver Broncos against the also undefeated Green Bay Packers. The Packers, they play a lot better at home. Denver is 24-2 straight up at home in the regular season under Manning. His plays dwindled, especially this season. But that Broncos defense is stingy.
They scored a touchdown in almost every game, right?
Yeah. They get a lot of defensive touchdowns, a lot of picks. They're very opportunistic. Aaron Rodgers' receiving core is a little banged up, as everybody knows. Jordy Nelson's out for the year. Tight end Andrew Corliss is out.
Devontae Adams is coming back, though.
They're going to get a 85% Devontae Adams back this week. Eddie Lacy's banged up. Not sure if James Starks is going to play. But I can't bet against a undefeated Peyton Manning getting points at home. And with that Broncos defense, I just love the Bronx here in this one.
I mean, as much as I hate the Packers and I dislike the Packers with a huge passion, I'm actually sitting below a Barry Sanders picture where he's just busting away for a run against the Packers. In a room with a cheesehead, so I mean, it's been terrible this season. You just can't get away from how good Aaron Rodgers is. I think that it's tough to bet against him, as much as that hurts me to say. As good as Denver's defense has looked, their offense has looked shady at times for sure. I mean, Peyton is – I think there was a stat before he threw that bomb to Demaryius Thomas against the Browns. It was like 20 offensive possessions without a passing touchdown. So Green Bay's defense has stepped up too, and I think that the Packers will win this one and win it comfortably. But, I mean, I just – hate the Packers, so I won't touch it.
Yeah, I didn't think about the Packers defense, really. The only reason I'm going with the Broncos is the home field advantage. That's just the sole factor, I think, in this game. I'm really picking a winner here. I think the Broncos win the game. Maybe the Packers win a late-off field goal, and I win with the hook. But
it should be a good game.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. I think it's Sunday night.
Yeah, Sunday night.
For sure.
Oh, I'm down. So I'm going to go with the last pick of the evening here. And like I said earlier, it is a week for redemption. And I don't think there's any other team in the NFL that needs redemption more than the Indianapolis Colts. They have looked just terrible this year. I think that their offensive line has been banged up, and they've just had so many different starters throughout the last couple of years. But I like the Colts +7 at Carolina, which I think Carolina's looked great, but I think they're due for a little hiccup here. I don't think they go 7-0. I think the Colts come in here with a chip on their shoulders, and I think they're going to cover the spread and possibly get the W.
That's the game I was really looking at in terms of a team that needs redemption. No one needs it more than the Colts.
Yep.
Andrew Luck is going to be fired up for this one against I think they're still undefeated. The Panthers.
They are undefeated. Yep.
Where's the game?
The game is in Carolina.
In Carolina. All right. Well, I've been to the Panthers Stadium. I went to a Panthers-Bengals game there with my buddy, my roommate Schaefer. We went there, and the Panthers fans just wouldn't shut up the whole time about how awesome the Bengals franchise is, and how they're so impressed with what's been going on up there in Cincinnati. Who hasn't won a playoff game, I think, ever? I don't know. But
I mean, I take just going to the playoffs being a Lions.
Yeah. So the Carolina fan base is soft. So I don't think that they get it done against the Colts this week. I love the Colts. I think that's a great pick.
All right, I agree. We'll just have to see.
That's the end of our official picks. I do want to get in just real quickly touch on South Carolina. I didn't want to make it one of my official picks, but we're getting 17 points on the road against Texas A&M. Rumor in Columbia is that the USC players really desire interim head coach Sean Elliott to be Spurrier's successor in Columbia. So I think these guys are going to rally behind the head coach. They're going to play 100%, leave it all out on the field every game this year. And even if we don't win the games, I think we're going to keep it close. And 17 points is an outrageous line in an SEC matchup.
Is it? Where's it at?
The game is in College Station. So we're on the road, but we play pretty good on the road.
And
so,
isn't Texas A&M starting quarterback isn't playing, right?
I don't even know who their quarterback is.
Neither do I. I just got a notification earlier today.
Okay.
I think their backup's playing.
And on the other side of the injury front, as far as quarterbacks go, we're getting We got Connor Mitch and Lorenzo Nunez both at 100% this week. We're coming off a bye, so these guys are ready to go. They're ready to fight, and I think these guys rally behind Sean Elliott and they get the win this week, or they keep it close. I mean, 17. Take that huge number. We're at least going to fight. Any other games?
I think a win. I think a win is a stretch on that one, but I do like the 17 points. So.
Yeah, I might have gone a little far, got a little ahead of myself on that one. The only other game I really had, the Redskins are on a bye. The only other game is I love Stanford -12 at Washington State. Not one of my official picks either. I just love the trees again this week. I love the -14 last week.
Were they -10?
No, they're -12. I took a -14 last week. I think it's disrespectful.
Washington State beat USC. I don't know.
Only -12 this week. So did Stanford. So. I really like Stanford again this week, so everybody should play that game. All right. Any other NFL or college games you want to touch on here?
I'm going to stick with my picks, and I'm going to have a way better record next week. You can count on that.
You need to, Steve. You need to. We can't go 0-5. That's not what we do here on Spreadsheet Radio. But hopefully we've got another big week of football.
Yep.
Some good games. Duke Virginia Tech game, 4 overtimes last week, 3 overtimes last night. Oregon, Arizona State.
I had Oregon. I had Patriots, and I had
fell asleep, forgot to
and I had TCU. So I'm on a hot streak.
All right. Already starting the week off hot. I like it. All right. Well, let's continue that momentum. Let's get some wins this week. So good luck, everybody. Enjoy your weekend.